Are you always looking for ways to improve your video content that you produce at home? I know I am, and I've come up with 5 home studio hacks that will help you produce better content in less time. So let's find out how you can do that without breaking the bank. So my first hack involves the Elgato Stream Deck, and this is a very popular accessory for many video content producers. It gives you lots of flexibility for switching between camera angles and controlling what's on your screen and things like that, and I personally love it. What I don't love is when I'm in a video scene like this and you can see the Stream Deck on my desk with a cable running off to the side. It takes up space and it makes it look cluttered. So I wanted to come up with another solution. Unfortunately, my desk here isn't wide enough that I can simply put it out of frame. So I needed something else where I could keep it close at hand, where I could still control it. And the solution lies with a piece of black pipe, a floor flange, and an inexpensive shelf. So let's find out how those go together to make this work. You simply take this floor flange and you screw it into the underside of your desk. And I have a flat tabletop here with lots of space underneath. There aren't any built-in drawers or anything like this. So I simply screw this in underneath, and then inside of it, you screw in the short length of black pipe. And you can get these lengths of black pipe in whatever length you want to have. I actually have it so I can put 2 shelves on it underneath my desk, and that gives me some flexibility. And then you simply take this shelf, which is designed for microphone stands. You can get it online, and I'll include a link in the description below for that. And then you simply clamp it right on. And there it's hanging under your desk, and you can then put the Stream Deck right on top of it, and it'll be just out of view. So let's take a look at how that actually works. So I've started by mounting the flange right underneath the desk here. It just takes 4 screws, and make sure the screws aren't so long that they go through your desktop. You can see I have a relatively thin desktop here. And then you take the length of black pipe and you screw it right into the flange. There we go. Just catch the threads. And now all you have to do is take the shelf and you can slide it right up onto the black pipe, tighten it down in place, and then you can put your Stream Deck right on top of it. And that allows you to have it just below the sight line of the camera, but still right at your fingertips so that you can press any button you want when you need to during your recording or your live stream or whatever you're doing. And the nice thing too is because this is just clamped on, you can actually rotate it around, which gives you the flexibility to push it out of the way so that it's not sticking out when you're not using it. So this has been a real benefit to me, and I really love it, and it cost maybe $20 total to do. So my next hack involves putting a monitor underneath the camera that's set up, about 5 or 6 feet away from me right now. And I wanted some solution that didn't require me to spend tons of money on a C-stand and heavy-duty clamps and those kinds of things that a lot of people have used in that similar situation where you want the camera mounted right next to the monitor. The benefit to having the monitor there is I can use it as a confidence monitor where I can see what's actually going out on my live stream. I could use it if I'm doing a Zoom call or something like that so I can see the other participants without having to turn my head and look off screen. So there's a lot of benefits to having it, but I wanted to figure out how I could do it and not spend that much money. And it turns out I had all of the pieces around my studio already that would let me do that. So let's take a look. So you can see that my monitor and camera are a good distance away from my desk, so I couldn't use the typical solution of simply mounting a monitor stand to my desk and putting the camera on top of it. And so instead what I did was I had an old standing desk that I had made out of scrap wood and used in an office many years ago, but I don't use anymore. It was still around, and so what I did was I trimmed off a few inches off the bottom so that it would be the right height so that I could place the monitor just directly below where the camera lens was. And the monitor is just one that I had that I'd used on an older computer and wasn't in use anymore. It's nothing fancy. It doesn't have to be for these purposes. The real trick though, the real hack, is how I attached the camera. So let's go take a close-up look at that. So as we look at the back of the camera, you can see that it is mounted somewhat traditionally on a ball head. I've got actually a quick release plate on top of this ball head stand. And again, these are just parts that I had left over from some camera work that I had done previously. And I then have that connected to an adapter, which then takes it into this, which is, if you take a look at it, simply a wall mount light stand. It's something that I had used earlier, but I have a new solution for my lighting now and don't need it for that. And so what I did was I simply mounted it right directly into the desktop here. And so that gives it a nice stable platform. It allows me to adjust it up and down as needed and position the camera exactly where I want it. And so all of this was made out of things that I had already lying around, but it gives me the flexibility to have this set up without having to spend all of the money on a traditional C-stand setup. My next hack involves something that you might not expect, and it was inspired by one of my other hobbies, which is woodworking. And so one of the things that I discovered was that traditional T-track that you would use in your woodworking shop can easily be adapted to be used for your video equipment. And so let's take a look at how that works. It turns out that the bolts that are typically used by T-tracks, and they just slide right in just like that, and you can attach them wherever you want. The size is exactly correct to screw in. It's a 1/4-20 thread, so it screws directly into cameras and other audio video accessories. So here's what you do. You take one of these 1/4-20 bolts that comes with your T-track, you put a washer on, you put the knob on top of that, you screw it right on, and you keep going until the screw protrudes. Then what you do is you take your camera and you can screw that bolt right into the bottom of your camera until it bottoms out, and then you tighten that knob. Or what you do is you take it and you slide it onto your T-track, and we'll talk about where you might want to mount this T-track in just a moment, but you take it and you slide it right on, and then wherever you've got it in place, you can then tighten that knob down onto the T-track, and it will hold it perfectly in place so that it's exactly where you want it to be. And so the nice thing about this is it's a way that you can mount things from the ceiling. And so that's how I'm doing it. And I'll show you in a minute exactly some of the examples of how I do it. But it's not limited to just the camera. There are other things that you can do with these accessories. So let's say that you wanted to mount a light to your ceiling or some other accessory that would typically go on a light stand. What you simply do is you take this same bolt assembly and you put it on the T-track like this, and you tighten it down, and then you use one of these adapters. And the adapter simply screws right on to the bolt, and now this has prepared it so that it can be used and attached with any typical accessory that goes on to a light stand. You just attach it right on there, and in this case this is an angled light adapter, which is perfect, so that can go on there. If you need a little bit more room, because sometimes the light panels or lights that you want to put up there need a little bit more distance, you can just take one of these baby pins, screw that right in, and now you've got some additional length. So there's all sorts of things that you can do with this T-track. It allows you to easily reposition things, and so this can be a really great solution for your studio. So let's take a look at how I'm using it in my own studio. So as you can see, I've mounted some T-track to the ceiling of my studio. It's above my main desk. And if you look up there, you can see that I've got a couple of light panels that are attached just the way that I showed you in the example earlier. But I've also got a microphone boom arm that allows me to hold my microphone just out of frame, and I don't have to use any sort of a floor stand or anything like that that would tend to get in the way. I'd trip over, and obviously this is a very small space as well, so this is a nice space saver. But I've also used some typical corner bracket that you can get at the local hardware store, and a few other mending plates that I've bolted together, and it allows me to have my overhead camera at exactly the position that I want it. And I've even used the T-Track accessories to attach the camera to that mending plate. And so what that does is it allows me to position the camera exactly where I want it without having to invest in all of the very expensive professional video solutions that can accomplish the same thing. So this is one of my favorite hacks because it's given me a lot of flexibility to adapt my studio to different shoots as I need to. So when you're doing online video interviews or participating on a Zoom conversation or something like that, you generally want to use some sort of headphone or in-ear monitor so that you're not running the risk of having the audio echo back to other participants, or worse yet, end up on a recording at the end of the day. And so these are the in-ear monitors that I use, and I wear them such that they run down my back to keep them out of sight. The problem that I ran into was that oftentimes when I would connect it up to the extension cable to reach my my audio cables, I would often have a situation where the weight of it would be tugging down and it would be pulling against my ear and that sort of thing. And that just, it wasn't comfortable. Sometimes it would disconnect. It was a bad situation. So I solved it using duct tape and a binder clip. Let's take a look at how that works. So here's how it works. Basically, you just take the binder clip and you fold one ear up here and you wrap tape around the side arm of your chair, and that holds the binder clip in place. And then what I do when I'm ready to record something, I simply take this end of the binder clip and I flip it up. And once I've flipped it up, I can then take my 3.5 millimeter extension cable and slide it right up through there, and that will hold it in place so that it doesn't go flying off, and it takes the tension off of the cable. And then I take my in-ear and simply plug it right in like that. And now I've got the setup such that it is not pulling on my ear. It's attached to my chair, so if I'm moving around, it will move along with me. And so that decreases the chance that it's going to get caught up in the wheels or something like that. And it really is a very convenient way to control my headphone cables when I'm doing video recording. My final studio hack today is one that you have seen throughout this video, but you may not have actually noticed. And that is this brick background that I have. The bricks are not real. They are actually a video backdrop. But how does that work? Because I've got shelving back here that you can actually touch. It's right there. That's a real shelf. This isn't a green screen. So how does it work? Well, what I did was I got on Amazon some simple brick video backdrop. It's vinyl. It comes in a variety of different sizes. I got 8 foot by 8 foot. And what I essentially did was turned it into wallpaper. And so I've turned the walls throughout my home office here into what appear to be brick. And from a distance on a video camera, they certainly look real enough. And to me, I liked it because it wasn't just the typical video backdrop where you can tell that it's a video backdrop. I wanted something that gave a real feel to this space. And so I tried to use it in such a way that it looks like it's real, and I built out three-dimensionally from it in order to give that illusion of real brick. And it's so much better than the horrible wallpaper that had been in this room. So it saved me a lot of time and effort of painting and having to peel back the existing wallpaper. And I think it gives a pretty good look. In fact, I know I've gotten a lot of feedback from folks who have asked me where in my house I have these brick walls. And it turns out I don't have these brick walls. It's just the vinyl backdrop. So those are my 5 studio hacks today to give you some ideas for the things that you might do to be able to create better video more efficiently, more effectively in your own home video environment. They're things that I enjoy. They're things that have made my life easier and hopefully the final product better. So I hope you've gotten some inspiration from these things. You've got some things that maybe you can put your own twist on, and I would love to hear about those. So if you have your own studio hacks that you'd like to share, feel free to use the comments below to share those with, not just with me, but with the rest of the community, because we're always interested in finding out how we can up our game, and particularly if we can do so without breaking the bank. So that brings today's video to a conclusion. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you back in my next video.